guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, "Neighbor placed dangerous nails in our shared driveway and insisted we don't use it anymore." For the last year, tension has been building up between my neighbor and I over our shared driveway. I am aware that most people don't share a driveway with their neighbors, so let me explain. My husband and I live in a beautiful neighborhood, but the layout of houses is odd. With the way our houses sit, there is one big driveway that sits between the two houses. Part of the driveway turns left in front of my neighbor's house, and that is considered their part of the driveway. The rest of the driveway runs down the path to our house. While we do not actually share the driveway to park our cars, when my husband and I back out of our driveway, we have to use the neighbor's part of the driveway to maneuver our cars out. Our house sits slightly behind theirs, so in order to fully back out of the shared driveway, we have to slightly turn into theirs and back out. While this is not the most ideal situation, I honestly would not mind it if my neighbors were not such assholes about it. See, at first, we had come to an agreement that we could use that part of their driveway to back out, but not park. This was totally understandable, as they had their own cars to park. However, my husband and I always honored this agreement over the course of the past year. Our neighbors have been doing things in order to prevent us from using that part of the driveway. I would like to mention that while our neighbors were not the most neighborly, they were also never rude to us before this. I had no idea where this sudden feud was coming from, but boy did they start off strong. The first instance occurred when they had put traffic cones in their part of the driveway, blocking it so that we would not be able to use it to move our cars. I figured they were getting tired of us turning into their driveway in order to back out, but this is something that we had agreed on, so I was not entirely too sure why it would be a problem all of a sudden. Nonetheless, I did my best to maneuver around the cones, very carefully, in order to back out. The next instance that happened was a couple weeks later. When my husband was getting ready to leave for work one morning, he was shocked to find a giant lacrosse net placed on that part of the driveway. It was impossible to my husband to turn his car around and back out of the driveway, so we had to move it so that he could back out. We moved the net back just in case, but I am assuming they were not incredibly happy about this. This cycle continued of them putting various objects in that part of the driveway. I actually had my husband install a security camera, because every time they would put an object in the driveway, it was more ridiculous than the last. I was starting to become afraid of what the next object would be. My husband, who is much more confrontational than I am, had actually went over to their house one day and asked them to stop putting the objects there, because it was getting harder and harder to back out. The wife had told my husband that they had no problem with us using their part of the driveway to back out at first, but now we were taking advantage of them and pulling way farther into their driveway than we were supposed to. I was honestly confused, because 1. We were not driving any differently than we had been previously. And 2. Even if we were pulling into their driveway, we were just using it to turn our car around. We were not parking our cars there or taking advantage of them like they claimed. My husband insisted that this was just a childish feud brought on by the neighbors and that we did not need a security camera. However, I was adamant about getting one just in case. We never even expected to have problems with them in the first place, so who was to say this would not keep escalating? Well, it was a good thing we did get a security camera because it ended up helping us in the long run. See, one weekend I was getting ready to go shopping with my daughter, and I was surprised that there was no cones or other objects preventing us from backing out. When I started turning my car into their part of the driveway to back out, however, I heard a loud popping sound. The neighbors had placed a piece of wood with nails sticking out, knowing that we were going to be turning our cars in that specific part of the driveway. I immediately called the police. My daughter was so shaken up about the incident and I could not help but think, if I don't stop this now, it will go even further next time. We were able to provide security camera footage which caught both the husband and wife putting the boards down. This eventually ended up with us getting a lawyer and taking them to court. In the meantime, my husband and I parked our cars on our back lawn in order to prevent any other issues while the investigation and court dates were happening. In court, the couple had told the judge the same thing they had told my husband several months prior. That we were taking advantage of them and driving way further up than what we needed to. Well, our security camera footage proved otherwise, and the judge favored on our side. In the end, our neighbors ended up with a second-degree harassment charge and spent 30 days in the county jail. On top of this, they also had to pay for the damage the nails had caused my car tires. Note: do not trust your neighbors, even if they seem nice at first. The next story is titled, "Neighbor collected my packages without permission, then got it lost/stolen." So, I've got a strange situation and I'm not sure how to proceed. I live in an apartment in Minnesota, USA. My complex has a locked door, but there is another building where my landlord resides, so when UPS or FedEx come with deliveries, they only need to walk across the street and leave my so nice packages with my landlord. He signs for them, and I grab them after work. There is a note on our building that instructs them to do this as well. Never had a problem with this system since living here for several years. Enter my neighbor. I'm pretty sure he has been here longer than I have. But just this week he has randomly been signing off or collecting our packages and either keeping them in his room. He left a note on my door Monday that he had them or left it in front of my door. I thanked him and said he didn't need to do this, but it was appreciated, nonetheless. Now I should mention this is an old man and I fear he is senile. He introduced himself to us several times over the years, seeming to forget we already met. He used to try to open my app thinking it was his. Maybe he's just forgetful, but I don't know. Anyhow, come later in the week and both my boyfriend and I are seeing packages were delivered but they are nowhere in sight. Ups left no note, and I got no note from the neighbor or call from landlord to grab our stuff. I visit landlord and he signed for nothing and there's no packages in sight. They're kept in a secured front room. That's when I asked the old man. Apparently, he received our packages again, but this time decided to bring them all the way across the street in the unsecured hallway that literally anyone off the street can access, and just left them there. What? Didn't think to tell us either. So now they are Mia, good as lost or stolen. He claimed he told our landlord first, but he heard no such thing. How do I proceed? I would like to get my stuff back without having to spend money over again. Or if I can make him give us the money for it, that would be fine too. I'm upset because I'd bought a lot of items. There are 3 packages between us that he just straight up lost by doing a service no one asked for. It's our anniversary next week, thus all the packages, which makes it even worse. I do plan on telling my landlord and want to make it clear to this man to not take our packages ever again, but he can't remember anything and will probably do it again. Thanks for any advice. He will reorder and have it sent to my job, where I can receive packages. I'm now waiting on feedback for my order. I made it through Michael's, so hopefully they'll be understanding and resend my items. I also still need to have a talk with my landlord Monday when he's in the office. Going to look into contacting Adult Protective Services too. It seems like the old man needs professional help. I appreciate all the help I've been getting on the issue. Update. Spoke with my landlord. I'm not the only one who has complained about him taking their packages, but they weren't lost like mine. Apparently, the old man has been displaying lots of bizarre and forgetful behavior, including writing multiple checks every month and arguing with the landlord. The old man's sister is in the process of getting him into a home. As for my stuff, it is long gone, but the companies should be sending me replacements. The next story is titled, "Bought a house 3 months ago. My neighbor came onto my property and cut down my tree while we were running errands." Everett, Washington. Additional context. I have 3 trees about 20 feet tall entering my driveway on my side of the fence. Came home after getting some family pictures done to a stump and wood chips scattered about my driveway and a small pile on my neighbor's side. Neighbor's son cut the middle tree down without ever talking with me and completely ruined the look of my landscaping. This was the largest of the 3 trees. I saw the neighbors about to go on a walk, had my parents over for dinner. My mom was my real estate agent for the house, and she came with me to chat with them when I saw them leaving the house. I confronted them and asked them why they cut it down. They said they don't speak English, only Japanese. I had them follow me up my driveway and pointed to the stump saying why. They said, "Oh, son, limbs, son," and pointed to their side of the fence. They tried to call their son on the phone, but he was apparently sleeping in the house. What do I do here? I can't exactly replace a large tree, and now I've got 2 trees that make the area look totally odd. I'm on a homeowner association and could get a fine. Going to call them today to make sure they are aware I didn't cut it down without permission. I don't believe these folks are on the homeowner association as their house and driveway are older than mine. Do I call the cops and file a police report? I'm not certain at what point I will actually make contact with the son of theirs. For context there, I think the son isn't a young kid but probably 20s or 30s, and I think he lives there as well. Update. I have called the police and filed a police report. I have called my homeowner association and they will be getting back with me on additional resources and reporting. The only proof I have is that the parents told me their son did this. Camera isn't hooked up or anything else. I've talked with one neighbor thus far who didn't see anything. Following up with 3 other neighbors when I get home. Update 2. Chatted with a lawyer and an arborist. Tree could be between 4 to 7k and lawyer thinks she could get me triple that amount and maybe a bit more. Going to probably go down this road instead of handling myself. Thanks all for the advice, it's been extremely helpful. The next story is titled, Roommate's Mother is Convinced We're in a Cult. I, 28 male, live with my fiancé P, 27 male, and our roommate J, 28 female, in a 2-bedroom apartment in Illinois that we rent. We just renewed our lease. Jay's mother has a long history of paranoid behavior, and yesterday when Jay was out with her family, mother, father and brother, her mother isolated her and accused her, and myself and fiancé, of being in an organ harvesting cult organized by the government and run through COVID-19 testing sites. She demanded access to Jay's phone and her messages. Jay did her best to remove herself from the situation and told her mother a blanket no to any sort of access to her phone and told her mom to seek treatment and went back to our apartment. That would have been the end of it, except Jay's mother has also convinced Jay's brother M, 25 male, of this conspiracy, and they drove to our apartment complex. There they convinced our downstairs neighbors to let them into the building. Once in the building, M opened a hallway window, climbed out to the outside of the building, opened up our balcony door and broke into our apartment and let their mom inside, where they then proceeded to block Jay in her bedroom and record her while demanding to know what group she recently joined and tell her they were concerned for her. Jay was able to get them to leave and has blocked their numbers and gone no contact, but it was a pretty terrible scene altogether. Fiancé and I have had to contact our immediate families as we have known each other for a while. What are our options here? Jay would like to involve the police as little as possible. Are police necessary? Can our landlord end our lease over this? How can Jay ensure that her family doesn't repeat this episode? Any advice on how to proceed would be greatly appreciated. Update. The situation is out of our hands now. Jay's mom showed up at my job making the same claims about me and Jay being in a cult/in danger. She told my coworkers she needed to speak with me, and it was an emergency, and when I saw it was her, I told my manager and he called the police. The police found her in her car raving about organ harvesting cults and called paramedics to evaluate her. The last I heard, still at work now, was that Jay's mom is being evaluated for psychiatric treatment. Update 2. I've confirmed with Jay that her mom is being held at a local hospital for a 3 to 5 days psychiatric observation, possibly longer depending on her needs, and is being treated for her paranoia. Outside of being sent for observation or treatment, Jay's mom is not being charged with anything, although she is being trespassed from my work, a decision which was outside of my hands. Aside from a nasty phone call from her mom, Jay is doing well and is happy that her mom is receiving treatment. M received a very thorough chewing out from Jay and has realized the extent to which he ducked up and will most likely seek counseling. As of this morning we are all well and Jay is getting in some much needed self-care time. The last story is titled, Tree Company Cutting Trees on My Property. Someone recently purchased the lot next to ours. There is no fence between the 2 lots, but the line is very apparent. The person who purchased it recently hired a tree service to take down the trees on their lot. The company he hired then commenced to come onto our property and chopped up one of the trees on our side of the lot. When they realized the mistake, they left the limbs in the middle of our lawn for 10 days. We had no way to contact the individuals who did so while we were away. The limbs sat that for 10 days until yesterday. The crew showed back up. I had a direct conversation with them, but they refused to give me the phone number for the individual who contracted them, though they did confirm they were the new owners, and I overheard the name Max. I reviewed the line with them and told them they were not to do anything on our side of the lawn and remove the limbs they left on our lawn. Today, I get home from errands to discover that they have removed the limbs, but not only got off 2 larger limbs on the same tree they had started chopping before, clearly on our line, but they had also attached a large rope to a massive evergreen on the far side of our lot, in order to help support the person cutting down a large evergreen on my new neighbor's lot. In addition, they had chopped a lot of the branches and limbs off in order to facilitate easier access to the rope. I just approached them, and they said, "Sorry, it was necessary." Not good enough for me. I ordered them off my property. Additionally, they keep driving over my lawn and have created ruts in the lawn. What legal action, if any, can I take? Update. Reported to the police. When I got home from buying the no trespassing signs, one of the tree removal team offered me $100 in compensation. I refused it and told him I was contacting my lawyer. I assume that was correct. Second update. I just spoke with the owner. Knocked on my door. Pleasant fellow. Said the tree was on his lot. Asked him why he thought that and said he measured it with his feet. I laughed and told him I have legal documents. Thanks for listening.